Right now, as I'm making this video, the Strait of Hormuz has live Iranian mines sitting in it, laid by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and a US Navy supercarrier could sail straight through it. So here's the question that changes everything. Can a single sea mine, one weapon, actually stop a 100,000-ton aircraft carrier dead in its tracks? Let's start small. The most basic contact mine in Iran's arsenal, the Maham 1.01, carries a warhead of just 20 kilograms of high explosive. That's roughly the size of a large suitcase. If that mine nudged the hull of a Ford-class supercarrier, a ship that weighs over 100,000 tons and stretches nearly 1,100 feet from bow to stern, the honest answer is, not much would happen. The sheer mass and multi-layered hull of the carrier would absorb the blast. You'd likely see hull denting, maybe minor flooding in an outer void space, and sailors thrown off their feet 2 decks below. Dangerous, yes. Ship threatening, no. But I'm not here to talk about the small ones. Iran's primary threat mine is the Maham 3, a moored, acoustic-triggered weapon weighing 383 kilograms total, with a 120-kilogram explosive charge. It sits below the surface, anchored to the seabed, rising on a cable to lurk just under keel depth. And it doesn't wait for a ship to bump it. It listens. Its acoustic sensors detect the low-frequency sound signature of a ship's propulsion, the specific hum of a massive nuclear turbine, and it detonates. Not against the hull, beneath the keel. Guys, that distinction matters enormously. When an explosion detonates beneath the ship's keel rather than against its side, the physics change completely. The water column becomes a hammer. The shockwave travels upward and compresses into the hull's weakest structural point, the keel itself. In 1988, when USS Samuel B. Roberts, a 100-ton guided missile frigate, hit an Iranian M08 contact mine in the Persian Gulf. The explosion literally broke the ship's keel, blew a hole in the hull, and ignited fires on 4 decks simultaneously. The engine room flooded. 3 machinery spaces began taking water, and this was a 100-ton ship. The Roberts nearly went to the bottom of the Persian Gulf that night. Now, scale that question to a 100,000-ton nuclear supercarrier like USS Gerald R. Ford CVN-78. But first, to understand what would actually happen, let me tell you what's actually happening in 2026, because this will be important. In March 2026, CNN and the New York Times confirmed, through U.S. intelligence sources, that Iran had begun actively laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC used small, fast attack boats, each capable of deploying 2 to 3 mines per run, to seed sections of the strait near Larak Island. The IRGC then published a map through Iranian state news agencies designating a danger zone across the main international shipping lane, effectively forcing vessels to take alternate routes or pay Iran a toll to transit safely. What makes this especially chilling from a military standpoint is what U.S. officials admitted to the New York Times in April 2026. Iran doesn't know where all of its own mines are. Some drifted with the strait's strong currents. Some weren't precisely documented when they were laid. There are weapons in that water that even Iran can't locate. And the strait's current, running at up to 2 knots, can move a drifting mine several kilometers from its original drop point in a matter of days. U.S. intelligence estimates Iran holds between 5,000 and 6,000 naval mines stockpiled, with some congressional reports putting the number even higher. Beyond the Maham 3, Iran has the Maham 2, a bottom mine with a 320-kilogram warhead, virtually invisible to sonar because it lies flat on the seabed. Let me know in the comments, does it surprise you that Iran still has 80 to 90% of its mine-laying capability intact, even after recent US and Israeli strikes? Because it surprised a lot of analysts. The US Navy has not stood still on this threat, but I'll be honest with you. The mine countermeasures program has struggled for years. The answer to Iran's mines today is a layered system, and the newest layer just deployed. In March 2025, USS Santa Barbara, LCS-32, and USS Canberra, LCS-32, and USS Canberra quietly left San Diego carrying the first fully operational mine countermeasures mission packages, a suite the Navy has been trying to field for over a decade. These are Independence-class littoral combat ships, and what they carry is genuinely impressive. On board is the MH-60S Seahawk helicopter, equipped with the AN/AES-1 airborne laser mine detection system. It scans the water from the air, spotting moored mines just below the surface. The same helicopter carries the AN/ASQ-235 airborne mine neutralization system, which drops a small underwater neutralizer on a detected mine and kills it without risking EOD diver. The Avenger-class minehunters, fiberglass-coated wooden ships that have been forward deployed to Bahrain since the 1980s, are still in the fight, now being phased out in favor of the LCS packages. The Navy also uses underwater drones, including the Knifefish UUV for deep, high-threat environments where you don't want a human being. But here's what every veteran watching this already knows. Mine clearance is agonizingly slow. So, finally, this is the scenario everyone is afraid to say out loud. Let's say a Maham-3, or worse, a bottom-influence mine with a 320-kilogram warhead, detonates beneath the keel of USS Gerald R Ford as she transits the eastern approaches to the strait. The explosion does not blow a hole in the side. It sends a shockwave upward through 60 feet of water, striking the keel with force concentrated on a narrow structural seam. The hull deflects. Internally, the shock propagates upward through the ship's frame at approximately 5,500 meters per second, faster than the human nervous system can process. Equipment mounts shear, pipe joints crack, electric buses travel offline. The Ford's 2021 full ship shock trial, conducted by detonating explosive charges near the hull, actually identified several design shortfalls that were then corrected. The Navy learned. But the shock test report noted that underwater threat engagements remained a survivability concern area that modeling alone hadn't fully resolved. That's the Pentagon's own words. Here's what we know from history and physics. A 100,000-ton carrier will not sink from a single mine. The Ford class is compartmentalized into hundreds of watertight sections, has nuclear propulsion that doesn't depend on external fuel lines, and carries approximately 5,000 sailors trained in damage control, the best trained crew in the world at keeping a ship alive. The USS America, when the Navy tried to sink her in 2005 in a controlled exercise with bombs, torpedoes, and internal demolition charges, took 4 full weeks to go under. The US response would be immediate and overwhelming. CENTCOM would execute its pre-planned contingency options. The same framework that drove Operation Praying Mantis in 1988, when the Roberts mine strike triggered the largest US naval battle since World War II within 4 days. A carrier mission kill in 2026 would trigger a response orders of magnitude larger. A sea mine cannot, on its own, send a 100,000-ton supercarrier to the ocean floor. The engineering, the compartmentalization, the crew, they make that outcome nearly impossible. But a single mine in the right place at the right moment can take that carrier off the board. And in a theater where one carrier represents the difference between air superiority and none, that is a strategic catastrophe without a single warhead reaching US soil. Let me know what you think about all this. This video took me a while to research about to get the accurate data. All I ask from you guys is to subscribe to Shipline, because I don't just cover naval news, we break down what it actually means at the tactical and strategic level in a way no other channel does.